Hello, and welcome to coverage of custom standard league matches for the Secrets of the River Cities rotation. I'm Caillou, and today we're going to be watching a league match between Seismic Lawns, who's playing a blue-red colorless full automation, and AllWhoWander, who is playing a Sultai calling card tap-out control. Seismic's deck is the same one that won the last tournament of the previous rotation, so it'll be interesting to see how this lines up against New Brews. So far, he's just played a currency, which is one of the premier rituals of the format. Also acts as a card advantage engine with artifacts, and especially with lands like Royal Domain, which can generate multiple artifacts. Also has the titular card Full Automation in his hand. Next turn, we'll have 6 mana, and we'll be able to play Full Automation turn 4. Also can play Coveted Jewel, can drop the Coveted Jewel off the Full Automation and draw into even more cards. For now though, just played a Cyber Savant, downloading an Ancient Shelter. Ancient Shelter is really good here versus the control decks, of which Wander is one. Wander does have the foiled plans if Seismic tries to run out the Full Automation next turn, but Seismic can just download the Ancient Shelter and then the turn after that play Ancient Shelter, making him safe from counter magic, and then run out his full automations. But won't even have to worry about that. Wander is just going to tap out for a writing here, and Seismic doesn't even have to worry about stuff like Sandwarp because Wander only has 3 lands down. So here we go, full automation. So draws 3 cards, unfortunately doesn't hit any other artifacts, but can still put down the Coveted Jewel, drawing into another 3 cards. This time does hit a Liminal Observer. I think the main plan here going forward for Seismic is probably just Lab Wrecker, Witch of Shifting Waters to copy it, and then essentially like attrition Wander's mana base out of the game. Because 3-colored decks in this format can definitely take a beating from Lab Wrecker's non-basic destruction, especially when you start copying it with Witch. And Wander's tapping out again is going to destroy the Coveted Jewel, which makes sense just because of its mana generation and how flickering it interacts. Again, by tapping out, I feel like Wander is leaving themselves more vulnerable to stuff like this Lab Wrecker. Like, I feel like if you're playing a control deck, something like Coveted Jewel you're not really super worried about because it's not an immediate threat. You're worried about what your opponent could have in hand, which I feel like therefore it's more important to keep up the foiled plans as counter magic. Also allows Wander to play Quick-Witted Detective on end if Seismic doesn't play something dangerous, and then Quick-Witted Detective quickly helps smooth Wander's draws, it blocks the Cyber Savant so it doesn't matter, etc. So Seismic has 5 mana here. I think could probably just a Lab Wrecker, destroy a Forlorn Ruin, and then just kind of go from there. Or I guess maybe play Mecha Dragon this turn, wait until next turn, because Lab Wrecker... it's just going to run out the Lab Wrecker this turn. But my thought was, a reasoning that Seismic could wait until next turn is because with 6 mana, Seismic can play Lab Wrecker and then immediately Inspirit Witch of Shifting Waters onto the Cyber Savant. But okay, so it's going to Lab Wrecker, destroying the Tropical Channel. Next turn can Inspirit onto the Cyber Savant, killing the Forlorn Ruin, and then can Inspirit the other Witch onto Lab Wrecker, copying the copied version of Lab Wrecker and destroying 2 more lands of Wander. And Wander still doesn't hit like another land off of that. So yeah, I think that is what Seismic's going to do, just tear apart Wander's mana base right here. And like Wander can still recover from that with the opt and the cost reduction of writing, but it's going to be damn difficult. Okay, he's going to swing in for 4 first. And yep, Witch number 1, Inspiriting the Cyber Savant. In response, Wander's going to oppress the weak, killing the Lab Wrecker, which is a good play. Seismic can no longer copy it, so he's just going to use the Witch as a 2-mana flicker, downloading a Survey the Ruins off of the Cyber Savant. So it looks like Seismic Lawns does also have elements of Jewel Storm, which is a combo where you flicker your Coveted Jewel in order to get more value. So just going to run out the Liminal Observer now that Wander's mostly tapped out. On end, Wander's going to run out the Opt to try and draw into something. currently can oppress the weak the Liminal Observer to stop Seismic from getting more value off of it. So yeah, is going to do that, and because of writing, this allows Wander to still hold up a foiled plans. Seismic though is going to continue on the plan of I'm just going to throw bombs out there, going to play the Mecha Dragon. Wander, however, does have the foiled plans for it. I think a better play would have been to download the Ancient Shelter first and then play that, but instead is going to hard cast a Cyber Savant from hand, downloading a Sea-Soaked Cliffs, and then going to swing in for one with the Cyber Savant. Now Wander is reasonably in control of the game. Okay, he's going to play another writing off of for only 2 mana because of the other writing. Can still hold up Sand Warp because of the cost reduction. Seismic hitting a Witch of Shifting Waters. The problem here, of course, for Wander is that Seismic can just download the Ancient Shelter, play Ancient Shelter, resolve Mecha Dragon without having to worry. But did Seismic forget about the Ancient Shelter? Yeah, the Mecha gonna run out of Mecha Dragon number 2. It's just gonna get Sand Warped immediately. Yeah, I don't know if Seismic's like quote unquote saving the Ancient Shelter, or is like just forgotten about it. But this feels like a horrible mistake on Seismic's part. Yeah, I really think that you would just want to use the Ancient Shelter to resolve the Mecha Dragon. Oh, now he downloads the Ancient Shelter. Okay. Because now the Witches are basically useless because sure, they get you card advantage with the Cyber Savants, but they're not copying anything impactful. And Wander now has 2 pieces of counter magic up, or in the form of Sand Warp. Oh, actually does not have the mana for Sand Warp plus Epic of Ekbrom because of the pip costs. And a top deck Find of a Lifetime is pretty damn good. For now though, is okay, so gonna Inspirit, Witch onto the Cyber Savant. In response, Wander's gonna oppress the weak, the other Cyber Savant. So Seismic's just gonna use the Witch as a flicker again, getting another Survey the Ruins, and then can now play Ancient Shelter, and then play Find of a Lifetime, drawing a new hand of 7 cards, which is probably Seismic's best out here. Yes, playing the Ancient Shelter and Find of a Lifetime. 7 relevant cards. Here though is that you would obviously like to resolve a bomb, and without another Ancient Shelter, Wander can just keep countering like Seismic's threats. Like having more threats is obviously really, really good for Seismic because it means that over time he can run Wander out of interaction. But I feel like it would have been better to use the Ancient Shelter for the Mecha Dragon. He has some really good hits for Seismic, has a full automation, double Lab Wrecker, and Eon Overwatch, all of which are must-answer threats. Wander does technically have double counter magic in the form of Epic of Ekbrom plus Sand Warp, but it's going to be difficult. And meanwhile, the Cyber Savant, while not a quick clock, is still there. Wander is going to stymie that by playing Quick-Witted Detective on Seismic's end, getting that card selection plus a blocker for the Cyber Savant. God, it has writing number 3 with the other 2 writings that only cost 1 mana. Wander spells are so cheapened by this. And hits another piece of counter magic off of the writing. And this Quick-Witted Detective is putting in dividends, as are these writings. And hitting another Eon Overwatch off the top of his library. Seismic, though, is 1 mana off of being able to resolve 2 threats in a turn. Because he has 8 mana, but needs 9 to be able to drop a Lab Wrecker plus an Eon Overwatch. Could drop a currency this turn, and then have enough mana next turn, I guess. Okay, he's going to try and run out a Lab Wrecker. Wander's going to tap everything for a big Epic of Ekbrom. Let's see, that was 5 tapped, so that's X equals 4. So probably 2 counter, 2 draw. Yeah, Wander confirms that. Double counter, so Seismic has to pay 6, which he doesn't have. And then Wander gets to draw 2. Seismic can try to run out another Lab Wrecker after this, but Wander does have the Sand Warp as free interaction. So yeah, Seismic's going to try and run out Lab Wrecker number 2, and Wander is going to let this one resolve, is not going to Sand Warp. We'll use it to kill the Luminescent Lagoon, which is one of Wander's win cons, and would have been online to flip next turn. But I guess Wander really needs the color fixing. So Wander's going to bottom an op with the Quick-Witted Detective, and my god, hits the 4th writing. Kind of disgusting. And god, writing is so good with these X spells. So Wander going to do Vibrant Rapture X equals 3, which will kill the Lab Wrecker and the Cyber Savant. And it basically only costs Wander 1 mana for this because of the double writing and getting the petals back. So they're going to pay 1 more mana, get writing number 4, and with the petal, has the right colors of mana up for a Sand Warp. Cannot cast the other Epic of Ekbrom though. So Seismic is going to try and run out of currency. Wander has to let this resolve because this turn he only has 1 piece of counter magic. And then is going to play this Cyber Savant, another small thing that Wander doesn't really need to counter. Downloading another Find of a Lifetime. So even if Wander runs Seismic out of this hand of cards, Seismic is basically guaranteed another. Going to download a Sea-Soaked Cliffs and play that. Now has 9 mana. Essentially has close to enough a double play next turn. Needs to top deck a land though. On end, Wander's going to crack their fetch land, get another Forlorn Ruin. So bottoms a land, but draws a Luxury District still. Luxury District is still good in these types of tap-out control decks though, because you tap it on your turn and then it untaps on their turn anyways. And it's also going to bottom a Quick-Witted Detective and hit another land. So not great draws for Wander. I would have kept the Quick-Witted Detective on top, honestly. And now both writings advance. So Wander's non-creature spells cost 3 less to cast. So Wander's going to pay 1, play the Calling card, and then just pass. Didn't play the Luxury District, interestingly. Yeah, now has Epic of Ekbrom plus Sandwarp up, like, definitively. It's going to be hard for Seismic to resolve something. Did top deck a land in the Sea-Soaked Cliffs. So that land plus the treasure tokens from currency will more than let Seismic have 2 plays this turn. Oh, interesting play from Seismic is going to survey the ruins on the Ancient Shelter, because that'll let him reuse the can't be countered. So this forces Wander to counter the survey the ruin. So Wander's going to Sand Warp that, yeah. Can't let Seismic run out a threat uncountered. And then going to try and run an Eon Overwatch. Has 3 mana up, so Wander has to dedicate 2. No, Wander's not going to counter this? I'm surprised, especially since Wander doesn't have removal for this technically. I guess can big Vibrant Rapture, but doesn't have a way to Calling card it. And yeah, Seismic's just gonna bounce the writing with Eon Overwatch. I'm really surprised Wander didn't counter that, if I'm gonna be honest. Okay, and then Seismic is gonna download another Survey the Ruins. I guess Wander just needs counter magic for that Survey the Ruins, but it doesn't quite matter because Wander's last piece of counter magic is this Epic of Ekbrom, and if he doesn't have a way to counter something past that, then it's free reign for Seismic. Oh no, bottoms a land, but hits land number 4 in a row. Wander's getting so flooded. So Wander's gonna Vibrant Rapture X equals 5 at this point. Yep, here comes the Rapture. In response, Seismic is going to pay 2 mana using the treasure, sacrifice the Eon Overwatch to the currency in order to draw a card, and draws into a natural Ancient Shelter, so doesn't even need to Survey the Ruins. So yeah, it's going to play that Ancient Shelter, and now has enough mana to just play full automation uncontested. Yep, here it comes. And it drops double Eon Overwatch plus a Coveted Jewel. Yeah. So Eon Overwatch probably... I'm surprised that Seismic's bouncing both writings and not even thinking about hitting the Calling card. And then draws 3 cards off the Coveted Jewel. Probably, I think if you're Seismic, you don't need to run out anything else. Okay, he's gonna survey. Okay, he's gonna survey the ruins. That's fine. I was just saying in terms of like don't run out the Liminal Observer, because if you run out the Liminal Observer, there's a chance that Wander could untap, and then big Vibrant Rapture, and then you're super behind. Instead, Seismic is gonna survey the ruins, flicker Coveted Jewel, flicker Eon Overwatch, and bounce yet another writing, or bounce the last writing. And he's going to cast... He has enough mana to cast a Lab Wrecker. He's going to destroy the Mushroom Lagoon. In response, Wander's going to tap it. I don't know that it matters. I guess at this point, Wander's main saving grace is big Epic of Ekbrom bounce everything. And god, Seismic still has enough mana for a Cyber Savant. But yeah, Wander needs to hit a Vibrant Rapture here. God, and it keeps going. He still has mana for a currency. And Wander didn't hit a Vibrant Rapture, hitting a Foiled Plans instead. Yeah, at this point, Wander just needs to Epic of Ekbrom on Seismic's turn, when he goes to attack with all of the creatures, bounce them all, draw some cards. Actually, no, without the... Yeah, okay, the petals give Wander the ability to bounce Seismic's entire board, draw 3 cards. So yeah, in response to attacks, Wander is going to crack everything for this Epic of Ekbrom. Oh, isn't cracking the petals. Is instead going to do X equals 5. I guess wants the 3 mana up for the foiled plans. Oh, interesting. Is going to bounce the Eon Overwatches, not the Labrecker or the Cyber Savant, so we'll take 4 here. And then draw 3 cards, I guess hoping to hit a Vibrant Rapture. 2 Ops and a Calling card are not it. And then main 2 Seismic can just replay the Eon Overwatches. I guess the thought is, like, either way, Wander is going to need another answer next turn, so digging is more important than bouncing the Cyber Savant and Labrecker. At that point, though, I would have gone more all-in on the petals. I would have drawn more cards. But yeah, okay, so this time Seismic's just going to run out the Liminal Observer, and Eon Overwatch is coming back. Wander ain't going to counter that. Calling card gets bounced. Not that it matters at this point. Wander doesn't have any 5 CMC spells to even use it with. And they're just going to pass. Is not going to play Eon Overwatch number 2. Oh well, on end, Wander's going to crack one of the petals for an opt. I guess the thought from Seismic is doesn't need to overextend. And bottoming the Oppress the Weak, but hits another land. I feel like keeping the Oppress the Weak would have been... I guess it's not the out that Wander needs, really. Bottoms a land. Watch, Wander's going to draw another land. Watch, watch, watch. How did I know? Wander's had such bad luck with these scries, dog. It's like they don't even matter. So yeah, he's going to have to play the main phase opt. I can't wait for him to draw another land off of this. Oh no, a Quick-Witted Detective. I actually think that the Endless Paper Trail would have been better because at least that's a blocker for the Eon Overwatch. Okay, he's going to try and run out of writing, I guess. Even with writing, we'll only have enough mana for Vibrant Rapture X equals 3. So won't be able to actually kill both the Liminal Observer and Eon Overwatch. So draws into a Make Prey. And here's the kicker. Wander had kept the Oppress the Weak on top, would have been able to Oppress the Weak, the Liminal, and then Make Prey the Eon Overwatch, and then survive for another turn. But now Wander can only Make Prey the Eon Overwatch, but still dies to Liminal plus Labrecker plus Cyber Savant. So yeah, in response, Seismic's once again going to crack it with the currency and draw another card. I guess because of the Luxury District, Wander technically isn't dead yet, because Wander can flash in the Quick-Witted Detective to block the Liminal Observer, and will therefore hang on with 2 life. So Seismic's going in for the whole hog, gonna attack with everything. In response, yep, here comes Quick-Witted Detective, taking the bullet for Wander. And he heroically blocks the Liminal Observer, saving Wander for a turn. Now the question is, once again, will Wander be able to hit that Vibrant Rapture next turn? And Eon Overwatch coming out. At this point, what this means is because Wander can't replay the writing, Wander only has 1 shot at getting a Vibrant Rapture. And that's a Make Prey. I'm pretty sure that's just game. Okay, so he's going to Make Prey the Eon Overwatch. In response, Seismic's going to crack it. Man, if Wander had had another Epic of Ekbrom, could maybe just draw Seismic out of the game, because he's only got 8 cards left in library. So Calling card. But yeah, it doesn't have any cards to discard to this to actually be able to kill any or enough of Seismic's creatures. And main 1, Seismic can just Witch of Shifting Waters plus Labrecker to force Wander to actually have something main. I guess Wander's one of those never concede until the very end in case they misplay people, but yeah, this is pretty over, dog. Yeah, and that's it. So that was a grueling game 1, almost 40 minutes long, but I guess that's what you get when you play versus Control, dog. And Seismic did manage to slowly but surely grind it out with his crazy value spells like Full Automation and Find of a Lifetime. So I think Seismic, other than the Incandescent Rains, probably has a perfect main board for this matchup. Wander, on the other hand, I don't know if Wander's planning to go like less tap out and have more counter magic so that they can interact on the stack, or maybe even less of that because of the Ancient Shelter. Could also have Mafia Vaults inside, because Mafia Vault, I don't know if it's creatures only. If Mafia Vault is creatures only, it probably isn't worth it, If it's permanence, then stopping Ancient Shelter is huge, and stopping Lab Wrecker and Eon Overwatch is a good bonus as well. Oh, and Witch. So maybe even without hitting Ancient Shelter, Mafia Vault might just be a good sideboard tech. Because Seismic's only ways of removing it are on the permanence, which Mafia Shelter, or Mafia Vault stops. So going into game 2, we're seeing Seismic, or sorry, not Seismic, Phoenix did bring in the sideboard Epic of Jabaya. Really good for being able to just machine gun down multiple artifacts with the destroy targeted artifact or enchantment mode. Also notably kills Currency, which Currency is a sleeper card advantage engine in this matchup, so being able to take care of a Currency but also take care of a threat that it's ramped out is really good for a control deck. Speaking of sideboard cards, it looks like Seismic probably traded the Incandescent Rains for Spell Pierces as another way to win counter wars. So on end, Wander with the Opt. Probably wants to hit some sort of counter magic here because Wander has the lands and the high impact cards. And yeah, there's a Sand Warp and a Banish, so in addition to the high impact cards, also has good answers here. So probably just play the Luxury District. Oh no, it's playing the Mushroom Lagoon. I guess Luxury District naturally untaps itself, so you want to play the Mushroom Lagoon first, and then you can play the Luxury District once you have 4 mana for the Sand Warp and other instant speed interaction. Turn 2, Seismic has the Cyber Savant, and again, this is just having like so many angles of card advantage in this control matchup is so good for Seismic. Cyber Savant just slowly eking out advantage for Seismic makes it really hard for Phoenix to ever like run Seismic out of cards, because Currency plus Cyber Savant are just like cheap ways that Seismic can just keep leveraging Wander's need to counter his high impact threats to convert his low impact threats into more card advantage to draw into more high impact threats. Also notably, Wander does not have a black source for the Vibrant Raptors or Banishes. So with all 3 of those dead, this hand is starting to look a lot scarier for Wander. And Seismic running out a second Cyber Savant, hitting a Spell Pierce and off of the second one. He's going to play the Luxury District and then tap out for the Writing this turn. Yeah, Seismic not being on 5 mana next turn is a really good reason to just chill out for a hot second. Of course, even if Seismic's most impactful threats come at 5 and 6 mana, don't sleep on the Lab Wrecker. So Lab Wrecker is going to swoop in, take out the Mushroom Lagoon, and Umber Steps is nice because it can provide a black source for the Banishes and Vibrant Raptors, but Wander has to be careful here because he has to play around Seismic having additional Lab Wreckers or Witches. But in the meantime, Seismic's putting Wander on a 3-turn clock. So Seismic's going to download the Cyber Savant, which is interesting because I feel like I thought Seismic would use Royal Domain to make a Petal, and then use that Petal next turn to play either a Mecha Dragon or an Eon Overwatch. But instead just going to download both of the not download both. Download the Cyber Savant and then play it. Uploads a Survey the Ruin. And on end, Wander's going to crack the fetch for an Eerie Bayou, getting in that fixing. Still can't play this Banish or Vibrant Raptor though, because they need 2 black sources. And the Endless Paper Trail costs 5, so it just has to pass. Yeah, for a deck as mana greedy as this one, just 1 Lab Wrecker can prove to be fatal. He's going to swing in for 6, and then Seismic has the Liminal Observer, which as a 4-drop, so it doesn't matter that he's got all these 5-drops stuck in hand. Wander will Sandwarp this, but is still dead on board next turn, so Wander needs to hit a black source here. And the godlike black source, Vibrant Raptor X equals 3 pronto, kills Seismic's entire board, gets 4 petals, which also fix for a future Vibrant Rapture or a Banish if needed, or allow for a big Epic of Jabaya. But now comes the gauntlet of Seismic's threat after threat. Is going to Eon Overwatch, probably bounce a petal. Yeah, just going to bounce a petal and destroy it. Now, if Wander untaps and banishes this Eon Overwatch, this is going to be painful for Seismic because of the other 2 Eon Overwatches in his hand. Oh, yep, and here comes the Banish. And there go the other 2 Banishes from Seismic's hand. Dog, you ever been hit by a destroy target creature? Its controller discards 2 cards? Control be kinda wild. So Seismic's just left with the lone Mecha Dragon in hand. and Wander has the Epic of Jabaya to be able to kill this. Wander, Seismic though, and yeah, Seismic also doesn't have an artifact to make Mecha Dragon hasty, because if Seismic had other artifacts, Mecha Dragon could turn into a one-turn kill here, but that's not in the cards. And a land for Seismic. So yep, here comes the Mecha Dragon. No haste, unfortunately, so Wander will be able to... Oh, it just costs mana. Oh yeah, I forgot. Doesn't need an artifact. He's going to give it haste, but Wander does have the mana to be able to flash in the Endless Paper Trail and block it, so it doesn't even matter with the haste. Luxury District really coming in clutch for Wander here to be able to play these flash threats. And now Wander doesn't have a win con of his own, does have the Epic of Jabaya to answer anything that Seismic may have other than another hasty Mecha Dragon. Is going to opt main phase, probably hoping to hit an actual like counter magic. Doesn't hit counter magic, but hits a writing, so is probably just going to play that out main, and then just hits a Forlorn Ruin off of the writing. And a Cyber Savant is nice, but not where Seismic wants to be right now. So that's the full playset of Cyber Savants, and oh my god, downloading a full auto. That is where Seismic wants to be right now. So yeah, it's going to instantly download that. And then next turn, if Seismic plays the full auto, Wander just doesn't have the counter magic for it. And yeah, the extra draw from writing doesn't draw Wander into it either. So it just has to play the Mushroom Bog and pass. So now it all comes down to what Seismic hits here. Because if Seismic hits another Mecha Dragon, can sack the Cyber Savant to give it haste. And then, yeah, so basically Mecha Dragon plus another artifact just wins Seismic the game here. Okay, on end is going to crack the 2 fetch lands just to decrease the density of non-land, or decrease the density of land cards that could be hit off this full auto. Yeah, but draws into another fetch land, ironically. Okay, this turn is going to download the Survey the Ruins. No, I think actually meant to download the Spell Pierce. Okay, so additional interaction, and so it's probably just going to, yeah, swing in with the Cyber Savant and then pass. Next turn, full automation plus Spell Pierce. And on end, Wander's just going to create a Petal token with Royal Domain. Just building up that big mana. And man, Wander. Both players are getting very flooded. So yeah, just going to play the Umbra Steps and pass. On end, Seismic's going to create a Petal of his own. And then crack the Ascending Spires once more. And another land for Seismic. So much flooding. But moment of truth. What will Seismic hit off the full auto? It's just going to attack him with the Cyber Savant. I guess because it's a reasonable clock anyways, doesn't feel the need to full auto. I'm just going to download the Survey the Ruins. This is actually a fine plan for Seismic, if unexciting. He kills Wander in 4 turns. Wander will likely have to tap out or tap out in some capacity to deal with the Cyber Savant. When Wander does, Seismic's plan is to just full auto with Spell Pierce's backup. Also now has Survey the Ruins as protection against removal on the Cyber Savant. So it's really just kind of a game of chicken right now. But the onus is on Wander to blink. And god, yet another land for Seismic. The flood is real. And chips in for one more with the Cyber Savant. So really now Wander, with this foiled plans, needs to banish on the Cyber Savant, and then when Seismic goes to Survey the Ruins, counter it. Or no, Wander's still doing nothing. This is a 3-turn clock. And Seismic is generating 2 petals a turn. One more Cyber Savant poken. One more land for Seismic. You know, business as usual. And hey, there's a Make Prey. That's a cheap removal spell. So it's going to run out the Make Prey on the Cyber Savant. Survey the Ruins in response. Yep, Survey the Ruins in response. Wander lets this resolve and then goes to banish it. Oh, he's just going to straight foiled plans to Survey the Ruins. I don't agree with this. Wander knows that Seismic has a full automation. I think you would just want to let the Survey, because you just want to let the Survey the Ruins resolve, because it's not end of turn. Yeah, it just comes back immediately. So you just let the stack resolve, then play banish on the Cyber Savant, and then you still have 3 mana up to be able to counter this full auto. Now, without a way to counter this full auto, Wander is like essentially playing with fire, because with the amount of Petal tokens that Seismic has, literally all it takes is doesn't even need the full auto. Just Wander needs counter magic up for both the Mecha Dragon and the full auto that he knows that Seismic has. So yeah, here comes the full auto, and without the foiled plans, no way for Wander to counter it. Ooh, but Seismic just straight whiffs. I think, though, you just play the Lab Wrecker here. Yeah, it's going to play the Lab Wrecker. Probably destroy, yeah, Royal Domain just because of the petals it produces. Okay, and also Seismic's going to Imperial claim the writing to prevent its cheapening. One thing that I didn't realize is that, ironically, the change to Lab Wrecker makes Banish not work with it, because it does not get exiled, it just gets put into its owner's library. Oh, and a Luminescent Lagoon for Wander. So that's an actual win con, so Wander might actually be able to turn this around at 2 life. It is going to banish the Lab Wrecker. So actually, this hits the Lab Wreckers in Seismic's library, but not this Lab Wrecker. Oh, actually, I'm dumb. So it does get bottomed, but then after that, Banish does search their library, so it gets hit in their library. Banish still does exile all the Lab Wreckers. Okay, so Survey the Ruins isn't much better here, but I think if you're Seismic, you just play Find of a Lifetime. Run into another Mecha Dragon, basically. Yep, Find of a Lifetime. Wander does not have the counter magic for this. And there's a Mecha Dragon, yeah. And so this game is over, because Seismic just plays Mecha Dragon, and then sacks the petals to give it haste, and then just kills Wander. And that's game. Good games, but Seismic Lawns on Jeskai colorless full automation plus Jewel Storm combo, weird hybrid deck, takes it 2-0 over Wander on Sultai tap out control. I think that this is naturally a bad matchup for control just because of how many high impact threats the deck has and how many ways the deck has of generating card advantage, but Wander played his heart out and fought it till the bitter end. I think that was a really good set of games. It kind of showcased the potential for both of those decks and some of the really strong cards that they have to offer. I'm really happy that we got to see those games, and I hope that we see more of these decks going forward into the season. But yeah, until next time, this is Caillou